Hello, this is Cal Banyan, and I'm doing something very special today, something that has never been done before, and I'm making a short video to teach you about the 7-path technique. And after you learn how to use this technique, I'm going to show you what the very first 7-path self-hypnosis recognition is. Now, as you see right here in front of you, is the 7-path self-hypnosis Get on the Path and Program Yourself for Success booklet by me, Calvin D. Banyan. Now, this is a study guide for 7-path self-hypnosis. Every 7-path student, whether you learn this from a video, or whether you learn it from an audio program, or whether you learn it from a teacher in classes or in individual hypnosis sessions with a hypnotherapist, you all get one of these books. If you learn 7-path and you don't get one of these booklets, notify us right away and we'll be happy to get you a booklet. Now, as today you're not going to go through the full class. What this is an opportunity to learn how to take yourself into hypnosis, which will be in the next video, and the actual 7-path recognition and 7-path self-hypnosis technique, which will all be given to you in this video. So let me give you just a little brief overview of how the 7-path booklet works. Now, in this booklet, and around the first part of the booklet, there's going to be a page here which you need to fill out, and your hypnotherapist or 7-path self-hypnosis teacher will send that in to us. You also have the option to be part of a support group that is online. And you know, things online change from time to time, but right now that online support group is on yahoo.com. Also in the booklet is the Introduction to 7-Path Self-Hypnosis CD. And what it is a quick brief overview of how to do the 7-path self-hypnosis technique. And there's no hypnosis going on in this CD. It's an audio CD. You can listen to it anytime. You can listen to it in the car. It is not a hypnosis CD. It's instructional in its entirety. Okay, so just a little bit more about the booklet. Our contact information's right here. The different chapters are right here. And then we just go right into explaining everything you need to know to be a good 7-path practitioner and to get all of the benefits from 7-path self-hypnosis, removing stress, removing bad habits, all that stuff that is explained elsewhere on this website. So now, when a 7-path teacher works with a student, we don't go page by page through this booklet. We really want to leave that up to you and highly encourage you to read through this booklet in the first few days after you learn the first recognition from your teacher. Now, some teachers work a little bit differently, and they want you to read through the entire booklet before you learn a recognition, and that's okay too. That's perfectly fine. So, but make sure you get one of these booklets. Very, very important. 99% of your questions are all answered here. How to use the recognitions, how to give yourself hypnotic suggestions, our contact information, all this kind of stuff. Okay, now let me move on to the back, because when we teach you 7-path, that's really where the teaching is done. Your teacher, or in this case myself, we move to the very last page on the inside of the booklet, right here. Now, what we do when we teach 7-path is we go through each one of these items on the back of the booklet. And so that you have a little bit larger graphic to work with, what I've done is I've had my staff create some larger graphics for the purpose of making this video. So I'm going to just put the 7-path booklet aside and pull up a graphic, a little enlargement from the back page. And the first one is this one that is the chain, and we talk about internal stress and external stress. Now, human beings, we have many we have organs and we have different systems in our body, and we really all have our strongest parts of who we are and the weakest parts of who we are. For example, just speaking physically. Some people have really great teeth, some people have really great hair, some people they can eat anything and it's fine. Other people, if they just think about eating a pizza, they get heartburn. Other people under stress, they might have vision problems or back problems or headache problems and that kind of thing. And there's really two kinds of stress. Stress that goes on inside of us and external stress, things that come and go in our lives. And as these two kinds of stressors come into our lives, they kind of pull on this chain which represents us, and we all have our weakest link. And you can imagine that if we kept increasing the pressure on this chain, ever increasing constant pressure, eventually one link will begin to break, will begin to open up, and that would be the weakest link. And like I said, some people get headaches with stress, some people have digestive problems, skin problems, hair problems, all these kinds of things, concentration problems, and those things come up. Now, what we're going to do with 7-Path is we are going to work on the internal stress. If we eliminated internal stress, then what we would do is we would take the stress off the entire chain. And that link, which was starting to come apart, will start to come back together again. And for human beings, that can provide a lot of relief, or in some cases, it can even provide healing. So sometimes, we will get all kinds of great feedback from people about different kinds of stress-related problems just disappearing. Now here is the seething cauldron of emotions. Now, in this diagram, what we want to show is constantly what's going on inside of us is this turmoil. Now, seething is like not quite boiling, but just simmering, and we're like constantly in that state because underneath the seething cauldron of emotions is flame. And the flame is fed by these three fuel sources: stuff that's going on in the past, stuff that's going on now, and stuff that we're concerned about in the future. Now, here's an interesting thing. We've all had an experience where we overreacted in the moment. We got too mad or too sad. So what happens is sometimes the past resonates into the now, and these two fuel sources will come on more intensely and cause the seething cauldron of emotions to boil over, and we overreact. Also, we can have concerns about the future. For example, we might have an interview coming up, we might have classes coming up, we might have any kind of stressful event coming in the future. And what happens is, why are we stressed about stuff in the future? Because we've had bad experience with those kind of events in the past. So what happens is the fear from the past resonates into the future, and those two forms of stress, past and future, they come into the now, and all three of these fuel sources come up. That fire comes up higher, and we boil over, and we can get too mad, too sad, too angry, whatever it is, and too fearful for the situation, and we boil over. Now, all this excess emotion really comes from the past. The reason we're nervous about something in the future, like I said before, is that in the past we haven't done very well in those similar events. And so we project that fear or sadness or anger into the future, and we feel it now. So when we neutralize the emotions from the past, what happens is this fuel source becomes negated, this fuel source becomes neutralized, and then only source of any kind of agitation inside of us is the now. And this is good news, because mostly of what's going on now is not all that anxiety provoking. The things that come into our life in the present that irritate us or get us worked up, those things tend to be transient. So most of the time, no fuel source is going to this flame, and this flame goes out, and we become cool. And when we are a cool pot of water is slow to boil. All right. So when events come into the now, we just don't get as upset as we used to. And we're going to find that that is a huge benefit from doing 7-Path. All right. So hopefully you're seeing the benefits in 7-path. What I want to do is I'm going to go through a few more graphics from that back page. Now, your teacher, if you're getting individual sessions or if you're in a class, will probably go into more detail than I'm going to go right now. But, you know, you're going to have enough to begin using the first recognition, and for most people, you're going to notice a really profound experience in doing the first recognition. And it might take a little while, or it might happen right away. I'm going to explain to you a little bit why that is. Now, the first recognition is Delta renews my life. Just 4 words. But we're going to get a lot out of these 4 words. First of all, let me explain Delta. You never say the word Delta when doing the 7th path self-hypnosis process. It is just a placeholder. I could have had blank renews my life. But in math and science, we use the term delta to mean change. And so delta in this recognition, actually in all the recognitions, is you fill it in with the most appropriate word or concept that you think fits into that recognition that also represents your highest good. For example, a lot of people will use God renews my life. Other people might use Jesus renews my life. Other people might use Islam or Buddha renews my life. Whatever your faith is, if you are a person of faith, you can use some highest concept or deity right there. That renews my life. Now, if you're not a spiritual person, you could use some philosophical content. For example, love renews my life, or highest good renews my life. But what we want to do is to always have delta represent the highest power for good in your life that fits into that statement, delta renews my life. Now, when you say delta renews my life, what you will do is you'll find that there's really 2 parts to this. The first part is saying delta renews my life silently to yourself, and then the second part, this is just as important as the first part, you wait for the echo. Now, the echo isn't like when you go delta renews my life against a cliff and then you hear back delta renews my life. That's not what we mean. The echo is anything that comes from within you after you say delta renews my life. And typically those are thoughts, feelings, sensations, memories, or pictures. So you go delta renews my life, and a thought, a feeling, a sensation, a memory, or picture will come to mind, and then you simply say delta renews my life. Again, you do not say delta renews my life the second time until you've had an echo. That's the rule. There's 2 parts to this. Every time you will say delta renews my life, and every time you wait for the echo. Now, you can have 3 kinds of echoes. They can feel positive, they can have no feeling at all, or they can feel negative. For example, you might have the positive one. Let's say you are using love renews my life, and you have a thought or a feeling about a loved one or a memory of being loved. So that would be a positive. You could say delta renews my life and just have one of those busy thoughts from the day, one that you've had thousands of. For example, you might think delta renews my life, and you wait and the echo comes to you, the very non-profound thought, I wonder if I should buy eggs on my way home from work. The kind of thought you think all the time. It's not positive, it's not neutral. I mean, it's not negative, it's just neutral. Then you could have a negative one. You go, delta renews my life. And you could have some of that, what they call stinkin' thinking, come up from within you. For example, you might think, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I'm doing it right. What makes me think I can renew my life? Any kind of negative, anything that's out of harmony with this statement. So you can have positive, you can have neutral, or you can have negative. Now, watch what happens. This is a cycle that goes on and on while you're doing the 7-path practice. Let's say you say to yourself, I'm going to do 5 minutes, which is the minimum practice time. 20 minutes is optimum. But let's say you're just going to do for 5 minutes. For 5 minutes, you will say to yourself, Delta renews my life, and you wait for the echo. And you wait and you just keep in that cycle. And what happens is this is a positive statement. And then it can be followed by a positive statement or a thought echo, thought, feeling, sensation, memory, or picture. And then you say it again. So they are always going to be paired up. The positive will be followed by the positive because the echo being positive is followed by the recognition. So what happens over time, every time you have a positive echo and it's followed by the positive statement, Delta renews my life, or any of the other recognitions you learn in the future, they tend to strengthen or increase the power of your positive thoughts, feelings, sensations, memories, and pictures you carry around inside of you. When you have neutral thoughts, and they're followed by the positive thought, as they are done together over and over again, the neutral thoughts, feelings, sensations, memories, and pictures, the echo, will begin to carry a positive charge. Also, if you have a negative echo, then you follow it with the positive, and then you keep repeating that. That tends to rub off on this negative, because a negative and a positive equals 0. A positive and a positive increases the positive. A neutral and a positive gives it the positive charge, and a negative plus a positive, the equal value equals 0. Now, you don't really have to understand all this math stuff. That's just for those people like me who are very mathematical and analytical. All you have to remember right now is that you say the recognition to yourself, Delta renews my life, and then you wait for the echo. As you do this, there will be a shift to thinking and feeling more positive. Now, how does this work? Altogether, there's 9 recognitions. In this little free video that I'm supplying you so you can get a little bit of knowledge about how 7-path works, you're just going to get the first recognition. But a huge amount of self-transformation can occur with just the first recognition in this short form. But overall, it's desirable to get at least the first 5 recognitions, because the first 4 recognitions, Delta 1 through Delta 4, we use the term Delta 1, Delta 2, Delta 3, Delta 4, and so on to represent recognition 1, recognition 2, recognition 3, and so on. So when I refer to Delta 1, I'm also referring to the first recognition. Now, this cup represents your subconscious mind, and inside that cup, it gets filled up with all this negativity. Now, surely there's lots and lots of good stuff, good positive thoughts, feelings, sensations, memories, pictures, skills, habits inside of you. But that's not what has caused you to want to learn self-hypnosis. There's something inside of you that is causing you to not be able to perform the way you would like to in your life. And the first 4 recognitions, one of the things they primarily do is they empty that cup of the negativity that you carry around inside of you. And they also, in a very positive way, begin to fill the cup as you make room for change inside of you. The 5th recognition is designed to just fill the cup with positive things. And it's in the 5th recognition that you learn to give yourself specific suggestions for specific changes you want to make. The first 4 recognitions prepare the mind for change and give it all this good transformation of neutralizing the negative thoughts and increasing the positive thoughts I talked about before on the previous sheet. And then the 5th recognition fills yourself up with whatever good positive things you want, like confidence, like overcoming a bad habit, doing better in sports, doing better in relationships, overcoming fears. That's done with the 5th recognition. All right. Now, There's a lot of reasons why we call 7th path 7th path. Now here's a little graphic from the back page, and what this represents, a beaker of acid. The acid is an example of all the negativity you carry around inside of you. You know, sometimes people will be through a real negative event and they just can't get it past. They can't get past that negativity inside of them, this negative event, and people will say, oh, it's just eating him up. That problem is just eating him up, or that anger is just eating him up. So that negativity inside of us is like acid. Now, some people, if you've ever been in the sciences or worked in a laboratory, you know about the acidity scale, the pH scale, which goes from alkaline to acidity. And perfectly neutral, not acid, and not alkaline or base, is 7.0. 7 path is not here to make you so heavenly high you're no earthly good. You're still going to get angry about things when people do you wrong. You'll still be sad when you lose someone. But what's going to happen is you're no longer going to overreact. That's one of the main goals of 7 path, is to provide you with that balance that you want to have in life of reacting in, well, let's not use the word react, responding to situations in a more thoughtful way without reacting with too much anger, too much sadness, and also just getting rid of all that negativity that everyone carries around inside of them. All right. Now, 7 path self-hypnosis. Each recognition does 7 things. This is another reason why we call it 7 path self-hypnosis. 1. When you say a recognition to yourself with the intent to go into hypnosis, those 4 words, or any of the recognitions that you learn, will act as a hypnotic induction. As you use the induction over and over again, and you keep repeating to yourself, Delta renews my life, or any of the other recognitions, and then wait for the echo, this will deepen the hypnosis. Also, each recognition is an excellent hypnotic suggestion for positive change. Affirmation. You can use these recognitions without going into hypnosis anytime you want to. Let's say you're raking the leaves or shoveling the snow, or you're out having a wonderful time at the beach or poolside, wherever it is, you can just say these recognitions to yourself. For example, God renews my life. And it brings the power of what you did in your practice sessions into that moment anytime you need it or want it. Now, if you are a spiritual person and you're using a spiritual concept such as God, such as Allah, such as the Buddha, whatever it is that you use as your spiritual concept, then when you say, that concept renews my life, God renews my life, the Holy Spirit renews my life, a Holy Scripture renews my life, then it is an invitation for that positive energy to be a part of this process. And if within your belief system, if it is allowed for that positive energy to come in, for example, the Christian asks Jesus to come into the Christian's life. And in other faiths, there is this idea of having God be a part or help out in life, or help out in a healing kind of process. So when that energy comes in, that's called an invocation, to invoke that higher power into the process. Also, if you're a spiritual person, this can also be thought of as a prayer or meditation. Okay, well, there it is. That is 7 path self-hypnosis, what you need to know to make this process work. Now, hopefully, as you learn this self-hypnosis process, you will continue to consult this website and learn more about 7 path self-hypnosis. I believe you're going to find that the first recognition is very powerful and very useful for you, and you will seek out a 7 path teacher or get my 7 path self-hypnosis CD set while it's still available. In that 7 path self-hypnosis CD set. It is an audio recording of me teaching the first 5 recognitions.